the event that thousands of people have come here to see, and that is the flight of the Blue Angels.
Rod, these pilots were handpicked from over 600,000 sailors and Marines in the American fleet. It's a real honor to be a Blue Angel, and it takes an extraordinary amount of discipline to perform to Blue Angel standards.
Well, let's go to Southern California, where the Blue Angels train, and see what being a Blue Angel is all about.
On the Mexican border, 47 feet below sea level, in a sun-baked desert dust bowl, lies El Centro, California, the winter training ground for the most popular unit in the United States Navy, the Blue Angels. Here, beneath a dependably blue sky, 100 hand-picked personnel, including 6 highly skilled airmen, arrive each winter from Blue Angels Base in Pensacola, Florida, to train for the upcoming air show season. For 3 months, they'll work day in and day out.
It's a great day to be alive, isn't it? Yeah.
It is 5:30 in the morning. Maintenance crews armed with flashlights have arrived to inspect the fleet of Blue Angels F-18s. Nothing is left to chance. Maintenance crews perform a walk-down beneath the $18 million jets, inspecting the tarmac for even the smallest metal shard that could be sucked into an engine on startup, damaging a turbine.
A daily ritual that we go through. The crew chiefs will get into the jets, start the jets up, and they check out all the onboard systems, all the flight controls, make sure everything is operational and that everything will be ready for the pilot when he comes into flight.
In over 40 years, never have the Blue Angels canceled an air show because of maintenance problems, and never has a Blue Angel pilot pre-flighted his own plane.
No, in fact, I feel incredibly comfortable about that. The maintenance personnel we have here are the best in the world.
At 6:30 a.m., the pilots begin their first briefing of the day. By 8 a.m., they'll be airborne, headed for a desolate desert practice area into which public access is restricted.
You know, we're out here in the middle of the desert. You know, nobody bothers us and we don't bother anybody else. We make a whole lot of noise and nobody hears us and nobody really cares.
Observation personnel are set up at designated points in the desert to evaluate and videotape every training maneuver. When the jets return, the pilots attend their second debriefing.
We'll go through every single maneuver on the videotape. We'll run it as many times as we need to run it until we understand what we did right or what we did wrong.
The success of each briefing hinges on a receptive attitude toward criticism, something Angels seem to share.
The challenge is there. When you do well, you feel excited, and when you don't do well, you learn. You do better next time.
The Blue Angels morning briefings are followed by an even briefer lunch hour, and by noon, the Angels are expected to be airborne again, ready to repeat the process. Training flights are performed twice a day for 3 months, and performed as if thousands were watching. Runway markings are used, hand signals, steps are timed. Everything involves precision and professionalism. The object is for man and machine to ultimately appear as one. In the air, the Angels fly only 36 inches apart at low altitude and high speed. Sadly, there have been accidents. This winter was no exception.
I don't think it's any different than any other part of aviation. If you fly on an airliner, there's always a small risk that you take by flying, and it's no different here.
Since 1946, 22 Blue Angels have been killed. But the Blue Angels firmly believe it is practice that makes perfect, and part of what they practice is getting out of trouble.
Every airplane has what we call an out or a clear airspace to go to. There's never a point where if something happens, you can't get out of the maneuver. And we actually do practice those clears. You practice when you may have to go away from the formation.
As the Blue Angels take their show on the road, they're accompanied by Fat Albert, a C-130 transport. Maintenance and support personnel, along with 25,000 pounds of spare parts, fly aboard Fat Albert.
It's enough stuff to practically rebuild an F-18 if we should need to, except for an engine.
Since the mid-40s, over 227 million people have seen the Blue Angels perform in their royal blue and gold jets. The average age of Blue Angel pilots is 32. Each has over 1,500 hours flight time, and each has flown aboard an aircraft carrier. But each claims the high point of his naval career is being a Blue Angel.
Right now, it is the high point of my life. And I think I'll always look back with it with fond memories. Right now I'm looking forward though. I've got 3 years to go and just taking it one day at a time.
And now Magic in the Air presents the Blue Angels.